Hey everyone, welcome to Learn DAX channel. My name is Desh, and with this video, we were actually supposed to start building the measures and do our analysis. However, there were a couple of things that I came across and I wanted to fix them before we start our analysis. The first thing was the data sanity part, wherein I found out that the total sales column from the data set that we sourced from Kaggle is showing incorrect information. So we need to fix that before we start our analysis. That's the first part. The second part is the date table that we have created using the calendar auto function is only giving us the dates. And in the further analysis, we are going to need not just the date, but we would need the year, the month number, the quarter, etc. So in order to accommodate that, we have to slightly modify the DAX and add some additional columns. So those are the two things that we are going to cover in this video. So without further ado, let's get started. So first of all, like I said, that the data set that we had sourced has incorrect total sales, and I'm just going to show what exactly I mean by that. So if I open the Excel file that we have used in order to analyze this data set, so I find that, let's say this is the price per unit and this is the unit sold. So the total sales is essentially the product of price per unit into units sold. So if I quickly grab my calculator and multiply 50 by 1200, it gives me 60,000. But here it says 600,000 or 6 lakh, which means that the total sales are exceeding by a factor of 10. Now I'm just going to simply multiply this unit sold by 10. I want to keep the total sales column as it is that we have sourced from Kaggle, and I just want to modify this unit sold field, just making the underlying assumption that the unit sold column was not reported correctly and that it was actually divided by 10 or somehow missed out by a factor of 10. So I'm going to make that change in Power Query, and then we are going to have the correct values. So let's go back to Power BI. Now I again go to transform data. Once that opens, I will make some changes to this table. So like I said, that instead of 1200, if I have 1200 into 10 units sold, then I can show my total sales correctly as 6 lakh. Right now it's 1200 times 50, which is 60,000. But since we want this to be 6 lakhs, I am just, for this project, I'm just multiplying the units sold by 10. So how do I do that? I will go to the transform tab and then go here to standard and use this multiply option. So once I click on multiply, I just have to enter the value by which I want to multiply. So I entered 10, and now all the units sold have been multiplied by 10. So the total sales will now show the correct figure. Uh, if I want to save this, I go to home, click on close and apply, and then it will get transformed. Now if I looks like this some issue, and it has resolved by itself magically. So now if I go back to the table view, the sales, now let's say the price per unit shows 55, the unit sold is 1250. So let me quickly open the calculator. 55 times 1250 gives me 68,750, which is correct. 45 times 2250 gives me 101,250, which is again correct. So yeah, we have solved that problem. So that's first part of this video. The second part, like I mentioned, is that the date table only contains the date. Whereas, like I said, while I was doing some analysis, I found that there could be a need to have the year or the month or the month number to have been mentioned in the date table itself. So how do I do that? Now we are going to use the add columns function. So add columns is essentially, if you have a table and you want to add a certain columns, you are going to use the add columns function. Now I have already created a video on add columns and select columns, which explains the two functions in detail. I will leave the link in the description, and I'll just have a very brief overview of add columns function in this demonstration. So I've already copied this code from the internet. So I'm going to just copy this and paste it in this formula bar, and I will explain what we're exactly doing here. So this is our base table. So this is our base table on top of which we are going to add the columns. So the first column that we are adding is the year column, and what are we doing? We are we're extracting year from the date, and in the second column we are adding quarter, which is essentially the concatenation of Q and the quarter that you're going to extract from the date. In the third column, we are adding month, which is essentially the date, but it's actually the month in the format MMM. And the last is the month number, and we're just extracting the month from the date. Now let's try different formats. Let's try MMM. I think this will give me the three letters. MMMM will give me all the whole month basically. If I write MMM, it will give me for July, it will give me JUL. For January, it will give me JAN. I'll just show you, and you can see it for yourself. Let's say, like for example, I mentioned for July it shows JUL. For Jan, it will show JAN. Where do we have Jan? Do we have Jan? I mean, basically, it's just showing three letters. That's what MMM means. But MMM means it is going to show us the complete month. So July will be represented as July, August will be represented as whole August, September, and so on. So that's what we are trying to achieve here. So we have explicitly created a year, quarter, month, and a month number. Now there's something more that I want to add in this, and I'll tell you why. Because in the future videos we're gonna need this. I want to create something which is giving me month or year, comma, month, and that will be year from the date. Okay, this is errored out. No worries. We will fix it. Concatenated with a comma, and I would need the month from the date. So when I write month and in bracket date, it means I'm extracting the month. When I write year and in bracket date, it means I'm extracting the year from that date. Okay, looks like we have added an additional bracket at the end, or parenthesis, not a bracket. Okay, but this is not what I intended it to be. What if I change? Okay, let's change this data type from text to date. Let's see what happens. With this data type change, your data will be stored differently. This may cause loss of data precision. Okay, so let's just see what happens. Okay, so now we have year month in the format 01 July 2020, but that's not what we intended. So what I'm going to do is I'll go to this format. We already have this column selected. I'll go to this format, and then I'll choose a date format that would suit my analysis. For now, I want to go with this one because this is exactly somewhat identical to what you wanted, year and month. So I will choose this one. So I'm pretty much getting what I wanted, year comma month. So here I'm getting month comma year, which still works for me. Do we have any custom option here? What if I mention here as y, comma mmm? Does it work? Oh yeah, it does. But I think I like the previous format much better. This looked much better. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with this one. So yeah, that's it. That's what we wanted to cover in this video actually. The first thing was to have, well, what was the first thing? Yeah, the data sanity check. If I go back to the sales table, I have the total sales now being represented correctly because we multiplied the units sold by 10. And the second thing was we wanted to make some changes to the date table. Now, this may not be the end of us making any modifications to date table, but this is where we are. This is pretty much enough at this point, I believe, for the analysis. And if we need to add any more columns, we'll just add it along the way as we move along in this project. So yeah, that brings us to the end of this video. And thanks for sticking around until the end of this video. And yeah, thanks for watching and happy learning.